My parents laughed when I walked into court, but their faces went white when the judge read one sentence. When I walked into the courtroom, my mom and dad didn't even try to hide their reaction. They rolled their eyes, slow and heavy, like my presence was a waste of time. It hurt more than I expected. I thought 7 years would make it easier. I thought distance would dull the pain. But some looks never lose their power. I stood near the door for a moment, feeling the weight of every stare. The room was quiet except for the soft shuffle of papers and the low hum of voices. The courtroom smelled like old wood, dust, and something sharp, maybe fear, maybe memory. Sunlight came in through tall windows, cutting the room into bright and dark lines, like life itself had been divided that way. I adjusted my black suit. It wasn't expensive, but it was clean and pressed. I wanted to look calm, strong, like the man I had become. Still, my hands felt stiff, and my chest felt tight, like something inside me was trying to break free. 7 years. That's how long it had been since I last stood in this town. I could still hear my mother's voice from that day. "You're embarrassing us," she had said. My father didn't raise his voice. He never did. His silence always hurt more. "Leave," he told me, "until you figure out your life." I had left with nothing but a small bag and a heart full of questions. Now I was back. And they still looked at me the same way. Across the courtroom, I saw her. Sarah. She sat straight on the wooden bench, hands folded in her lap. Her hair was pulled back, simple and neat. She wore a light-colored dress, the kind people in this town trusted without question. She looked calm, almost peaceful, like this was just another normal day for her. But when she lifted her eyes and saw me, something flickered across her face. Not shock. Not anger. Fear. Our eyes met for just a second. That was all it took. 7 years disappeared in that moment, replaced by memories I had tried so hard to bury. Then she looked away, staring down at the floor like I wasn't even there. I felt something twist inside me. Sarah lived on a small farm outside town now. Everyone knew her story. The hard-working woman who stayed behind. The one who did everything right. People spoke her name with respect. Some even with pride. They didn't know the full story. They never asked me. I slowly walked toward my seat. Each step echoed louder than it should have, like the room wanted to remind me that I didn't belong here anymore. My parents sat 2 rows ahead, close to Sarah. My mother leaned slightly toward her, whispering something. Sarah nodded once. That sight burned more than anything else. Once, that place had been mine. I sat down, keeping my back straight. I didn't look at them again. I focused on the judge's bench, the American flag behind it, and the quiet ticking of a clock on the wall. Every tick sounded like a heartbeat. Tick, tick, tick. 7 years ago, this town had decided who I was. A failure. A burden. Someone better forgotten. Sarah and I had grown up together. We knew each other before the farm, before the plans, before the pressure. There was a time when she laughed easily, when she believed in me more than anyone else did. Or at least, I thought she did. The last time I saw her before I left, she stood at the farm gate. The sky was grey that day, heavy with rain. My parents stood beside her, like a wall I couldn't get past. "You're not ready for this life," my mother said, arms crossed tight against her chest. "You can't provide," my father added, his voice flat and final. I looked at Sarah, waiting for her to say something. Anything. She didn't defend me. She didn't fight for me. She just nodded. That nod followed me for 7 years. Now, sitting in the courtroom, I felt that same weight pressing on my chest. But this time, I didn't look away. This time, I stayed. People whispered around the room. I could feel their eyes scanning me, judging the suit, the calm face, the quiet confidence. They were trying to fit me into the version of me they remembered. They couldn't. The clerk called our names. My name sounded strange in this place, like it didn't belong anymore. Sarah's name sounded familiar, comfortable, like it had always been meant to stay. The judge hadn't entered yet. There was still time. Time for thoughts. Time for fear. I glanced once more at my parents. My mother avoided my eyes. My father looked straight ahead, jaw tight. No warmth. No regret. That hurt, but it also hardened something inside me. They thought this case was simple. They thought I had come back desperate, empty-handed, hoping for mercy. They didn't know how many nights I had replayed this moment in my head. They didn't know how much silence I had swallowed to be here. I took a slow breath. This courtroom wasn't just about land or papers or old arguments. It was about everything that had been taken from me the day I was told to leave. Sarah shifted in her seat, just slightly. Her fingers tightened together. She didn't look at me again. I noticed that. Something felt wrong. Not loud or obvious, just a quiet feeling in my gut. Like a door that had been closed too carefully. Like a truth buried too deep. 7 years had passed. But some things don't disappear with time. They wait. And today, in this courtroom filled with old wood, dust, and silent judgment, I knew one thing for sure. This was not the end of my story. It was the beginning. The judge entered the courtroom, and everyone stood. The room settled into a heavy silence as he took his seat. My heart beat slow but loud, like it wanted to remind me that this moment mattered. "Be seated," the judge said. Wood creaked as we Saturday. Papers shuffled. Someone cleared their throat. Then it began. Sarah's lawyer stood up first. He was calm, polished, confident, like this case had already been decided in his mind. "Your Honor," he said, "my client is requesting full legal ownership of the farm and surrounding land. The defendant abandoned the property 7 years ago and has had no involvement since." Abandoned. That word hit me harder than I expected. It echoed in my head, mixing with old voices and old wounds. I felt my jaw tighten. I looked at Sarah. She stared straight ahead, eyes fixed on the judge, face blank. She didn't look proud. She didn't look guilty either. She looked practiced, like she had said these words many times before. The lawyer continued, "During those 7 years, my client maintained the land alone. She paid taxes, repaired buildings, and built a life there. The defendant chose to disappear." Disappear. I let out a slow breath through my nose. My fingers curled slightly against my leg, but I stayed quiet. I had promised myself I would not lose control, not today. When it was my turn, I stood. The courtroom felt smaller when I did. Every eye turned toward me, even my parents, though they looked at me like they were already tired. "I didn't abandon anything," I said, my voice steady but low. "I was told to leave." Sarah's head turned just a little. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Told by whom?" I hesitated for half a second. Then I said it. "By her. And by my parents." A soft murmur moved through the room. Sarah's lawyer stood quickly. "Objection." The judge lifted a hand. "Let him speak." I looked at Sarah now. Really looked at her. "You told me to go," I said. "You stood at the farm gate and watched me walk away." She finally faced me fully. "That's not true," she said, but her voice wasn't as strong as it should have been. I swallowed. "You said I wasn't ready. That I couldn't give you the life you wanted." She shook her head slightly. "You're twisting things." "Am I?" I thought. A flashback pulled me back without warning. 7 years ago. The wind was cold. The ground was wet. My bag sat at my feet. "You'll only slow me down," Sarah had said quietly. "This place needs stability." My parents had stood behind her, silent but firm. Back in the courtroom, my chest felt tight. "You blocked my number," I said. "I tried to call." Sarah crossed her arms. "You never tried hard enough." "That's not fair," I replied. "You changed your address. You cut me off." Her eyes flickered for just a moment. That moment didn't go unnoticed. The judge leaned forward slightly. "Miss R, is it true that you blocked communication?" She paused. Just a pause. But pauses can be loud. "I did what I had to do," she said finally. "He needed to move on." Move on. The words felt cold. Clean. Too clean. I sat back down slowly, my mind racing. Something wasn't right. The way she chose her words. The way she avoided certain details. The way she never once looked directly at me for more than a second. This wasn't just about land. It couldn't be. Sarah's lawyer spoke again, bringing out documents, receipts, records. Proof of years of work. Years of control. Years without me. Every paper felt like another layer of dirt thrown over my name. The judge listened carefully, nodding at times, asking short questions. He was fair, sharp, not easily impressed. Then he looked at me again. "Mister," he said, "where have you been these past 7 years?" The question hit deeper than I expected. I cleared my throat. Working, learning, trying to survive. My mother let out a quiet scoff behind me. I didn't turn around. I left with nothing, I continued. I rebuilt myself. I didn't come back because I wasn't welcome. Sarah shifted in her seat. The judge studied her now. "Miss Sarah, did you ever ask him to return?" She answered too quickly. "No." The judge's eyes narrowed just a bit. "No letters?" he asked. "No," she said. "No calls?" "No." Each answer landed heavier than the last. I watched her hands. They were clenched tight in her lap now, knuckles pale. Something was definitely off. The judge leaned back. 7 years is a long time. People change. Truths change. Sarah swallowed. I felt it again, that quiet pressure in my chest. Like a truth trying to surface. Like something unsaid screaming to be heard. I remembered small things suddenly. The way Sarah avoided town for a while after I left. The way my parents never spoke about her farm in detail. The way people stopped asking me questions too quickly. The judge turned to Sarah again. "Is there anything else the court should know before we proceed?" The room held its breath. Sarah opened her mouth, closed it, then shook her head. "No," she said softly. But her voice cracked. Just a little. That crack was enough. I saw it then, not clearly, not fully, but enough to know the truth was bigger than land, bigger than pride, bigger than 7 years of silence. Whatever she was hiding, it wasn't small. And whatever it was about to change everything. I straightened in my seat, heart pounding but steady. Let her deny it, I thought. Let her pretend. The truth had waited 7 years. It could wait a few more minutes. The courtroom felt smaller than before. The air was thick, heavy, like everyone sensed something was about to break. The judge looked down at his notes, then back at us. His voice was calm, but there was pressure under it now. "Mister," he said, "you've hinted there is more to this story. If there is something relevant, now is the time." My parents sighed loudly behind me. I stood. The sound of the bench scraping under my feet echoed through the room. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. I had waited 7 years for this moment. I wasn't going to rush it. "Yes, Your Honor," I said. "There is more." Sarah looked at me sharply. Her eyes were wide now, no longer calm. She knew. I could see it in her face. She knew exactly what I was about to do. I reached into my folder and pulled out a single paper. It didn't look powerful. It didn't look dramatic. But it carried more weight than all the land papers combined. "I would like to submit this document to the court." The clerk walked over and took it from my hand. The sound of paper moving felt loud. Too loud. My mother leaned forward. "What is this?" she whispered, not caring who heard. The judge took the document and began to read. At first, his expression didn't change. Then his eyes stopped moving. The room went silent. No whispers. No movement. Even the clock seemed to pause. The judge slowly looked up. "This is a birth certificate," he said. Sarah stood up so fast her chair nearly fell over. "That has nothing to do with this case," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "This is about land." The judge didn't look at her. He kept his eyes on the paper. "The child was born 6 years ago," he continued. "Father's name listed as the defendant." A sharp breath filled the room. My mother made a sound I had never heard before, half gasp, half cry. My father's face drained of color. He gripped the bench in front of him like it was the only thing holding him up. Sarah's knees looked weak. She slowly sat back down. The judge raised his eyes to her. "Miss Sarah," he said firmly, "is this document accurate?" She opened her mouth. No words came out. I spoke before she could recover. "I didn't know," I said quietly. "I found out 3 months ago." My voice didn't shake. My heart did. The judge nodded once. "How?" I swallowed. A medical record. A name match. A date that didn't make sense. I followed it. Sarah finally spoke, her voice breaking apart. I was protecting him. I laughed softly, without humor. No, I said. You were protecting yourself. She shook her head, tears forming. He had nothing, she cried. You had nothing. No home. No money. No future. My parents turned toward her in shock. You knew, my mother whispered. Sarah looked away. You all knew, I said. My voice was still calm, but every word felt sharp. You decided I wasn't good enough to be a father. My father stood halfway, then slowly sat back down. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The judge's voice cut through the tension. Miss Sarah, why was the father never informed? Tears rolled down her cheeks now. Because if he stayed, everything would fall apart. The farm, the plans, the life we built. I looked at her, really looked at her. You didn't just send me away, I said. You erased me. Silence answered me. I remembered the nights I spent wondering what was wrong with me. The years I spent believing I wasn't enough for anyone. The empty feeling that never made sense, until now. You took my choice, I said. You took my child's choice. The judge leaned back, his face serious. This is not a small matter, he said. This court cannot ignore this. Sarah's lawyer whispered urgently to her, but she didn't respond. She was staring at the floor now, shoulders shaking. My mother stood suddenly. Why didn't you tell us? She asked Sarah, her voice cracking. Sarah looked up, eyes red. You told him to leave, she said softly. You said he would ruin everything. My mother froze. The words hung in the air, ugly and exposed. The judge banged his gavel lightly. Enough. He looked at me again. Mister, what is it that you want from this court? I thought about that question for a moment. I didn't want to shout. I didn't want to punish. I want the truth acknowledged, I said. And I want my place back in my child's life. Sarah looked up at me then, really looked at me for the first time that day. Her face was full of fear, regret, and something else, loss. The judge nodded slowly. This court will order a full review of custody, parental rights, and property claims. He paused, then added, based on what I have seen today, the defendant did not abandon this family. He was removed from it. That sentence hit harder than any revenge I could have planned. My parents stared at me, their eyes filled with something new. Regret. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just heavy. I didn't smile. I didn't feel victory rush through me. What I felt was quiet, like a storm finally ending. As the judge prepared to adjourn, I turned to Sarah one last time. You thought silence would protect you, I said softly. But it only protected the lie. She covered her face with her hands. I walked toward the door, my step steady, my back straight. Behind me, I heard the sound of a family breaking apart, not with anger, but with truth. And as I reached the doorway, I said the only thing that mattered anymore. You took my past. Today, I take back the truth. The courtroom stayed silent. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the man everyone rolled their eyes at. I felt like a father. And that was enough.